Basically, what this game confirms is Emperor Palpatine terrorized the Jedi so much and caused so much mental trauma between them that two of them went on to fly to Earth, put on clown makeup, and terrorize Gotham and become the greatest enemy of a man named Batman. So Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is the latest Star Wars game coming out of EA, Electronic Arts, and it was developed by Respawn Entertainment, and this game takes place 5 years after the famous Order 66, in which Emperor Palpatine ordered the clone troopers to execute all of the remaining Jedi. And this game follows Padawan Cal Kestis, played by Cameron Monaghan. Hey. As he's one of the few remaining people from the Jedi Order that was able to survive and escape from Order 66. And he's trying to fly under the Empire's radar and survive. Once his secret is discovered, he finds himself on the run from the Empire and Darth Vader's Inquisitors. He finds himself rescued by a former Jedi named Sarah Junda and her partner pilot Greaves Dritus. And then he eventually comes across a droid named BD-1 as they travel across the galaxy trying to figure out a way to not only restore the Jedi Order, but finally take down the Empire once and for all. Now, I personally haven't really played that many Star Wars games. Like, the only Star Wars games that I've ever played was The Force Unleashed and The Force Unleashed Part 2. I love those games, and I love that storyline. Like, Starkiller was so OP, and I was able to cut loose as Starkiller that I just loved it. And I loved the storylines. So after the purchase of Lucasfilm from Disney, and then they decided to make Star Wars The Force Unleashed not part of the actual canon, I was disappointed because I love that character and I love that storyline, and I wanted to see more of that character. But now we're not going to anymore because everything that comes out from Star Wars now under the Disney umbrella has to be canon. But yeah, Star Wars The Force Unleashed 1, I love Star Wars The Force Unleashed Part 1 more than I like Part 2. But overall, I really like both of those games. But I was never really interested in the Battlefront games, mostly because I heard a lot of flack regarding EA and all the microtransactions and all the buffoonery that they were behind with their Star Wars games. And I'm also a person that just likes plain, pure, single-player crafted stories. That's another reason why I wasn't really that interested in the Battlefront games. But finally, after something that the fans have really been wanting since The Force Unleashed, you get your first single-player Star Wars video game in almost a full decade with this game. And I'm glad to say that this game did not disappoint. I find it very interesting that Star Wars is able to make some very interesting stories in every single medium except for the movies lately. Like, I've been finding myself to be very disappointed with every single Star Wars movie that has been coming out ever since really The Last Jedi. And even The Force Awakens, I was kind of like, it was very much like A New Hope, but I'm excited to see what they do going forward. And then you get The Last Jedi, which I hated, and then you get The Rise of Skywalker, which I didn't hate as much as I hated The Last Jedi, but I was very disappointed in The Rise of Skywalker. But then you get something as awesome as The Mandalorian, which I love The Mandalorian, and now you got Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and I really enjoyed this game. The story of Cal Kestis, why can't a story like this be made into the movies? Like, the turmoil that Jedi faced trying to escape Order 66 and all the Jedi that potentially did survive Order 66, I feel like that's a treasure trove of stories that could be told in the movies. And not only just that, there are worlds and characters and lore that you learn that unfold throughout this game. And you're just like, why didn't I learn or see any of this in the movies? For example, and this isn't a spoiler, but there's a world called Ilum, I-L-U-M, where young children Jedi, younglings, go. They first train and where they first are able to craft their lightsabers. Why did we never see that planet in any of the movies? Why do we know nothing about kyber crystals, which are the crystals that are used to give the lightsabers their power? Why was that never introduced in the movies? They never even mentioned kyber crystals in the movies, or a whole bunch of other lore and planets that you would think would be an essential backstory and an unfolding of the Jedi lore and history that you would think that they put in the movies that they just don't even touch on. And the thing about this game that is cool is because you start off with a character that is a Padawan, he's still learning the ways of the Force and isn't a Jedi master. Throughout the game, you end up unlocking and learning more abilities with the lightsaber and more abilities within the Force. His battles with the Empire and the Inquisitors and all the people that have been sent to kill him, the stormtroopers, he's not only in a fight for his life, but this fight for his life is also training him to become a better Jedi. And so it's cool as you go through the game to not only see him grow as a character, but him him grow as a Jedi as well. And with that said, like, the combat in this game is very fun, and it's not just the type of game like The Force Unleashed where you could just mow through a bunch of people easily. Like, no, you have to have a level of strategy. Now, granted, as you know through most Star Wars history and even the movies, the stormtroopers are the easy ones. It's easy to cut through a bunch of stormtroopers. When you start coming across other characters like purge troopers, who are more advanced stormtroopers that have been trained to take out and kill Jedi. When you come across the Inquisitors, who are former Jedi turned Sith, and other boss battles or giant alien creatures that you come across, those are much harder, and you have to be much more strategic when fighting them, because one wrong move and you're dead. And with that said, my character ended up dying a lot, and some of it I did to myself because I played this game on the Jedi Grandmaster level, and the Jedi Grandmaster level is essentially the equivalent of playing on very hard. And I was making my way through the game for the most part. I was still dying, but I was still getting pretty far on the Jedi Grandmaster level. But it started to get to a certain point that I kept dying so much, and I was just like, nah. And I lowered it down to the Jedi Master mode, which is the equivalent of hard as opposed to very hard. And even then, like, it was still a challenge. But even if you play on the Jedi Knight mode, which is considered the normal mode, the game is still a challenge. And that's the thing that I like, that it wasn't something that you could just go through easily. And that's one of my, despite really liking The Force Unleashed, I do find that because Starkiller was so powerful and he was able to unlock so many Force abilities that you could just mow through a bunch of enemies, I didn't really find it to be that much of a challenge. But this game was definitely a challenge. And that's part of the reason why it took me so long to beat it, because I kept dying. Now granted, like I said, I played it on hard, so I did a lot of it to myself, but it was fun. And also I tried to 100% everything, and I still have a life. I have to work. So I wasn't able to play it as much as I wanted to. But yeah, the game was definitely fun. One of my favorite characters in this game was Sarah Junda, the former Jedi. Now granted, when I first started playing the game and they said her character was a former Jedi, she cut herself off from the Force and she doesn't use it anymore. She's no longer a Jedi. I was annoyed at first because I was just like, oh, come on. You finally got another black Jedi in the Star Wars universe and she's not even a Jedi anymore. She doesn't use her Jedi powers. Come on now. Can we get another black Jedi in this universe? I'm already still upset what they did with Finn's character in the new trilogy. And so now you got this game and it's like, all we got is Mace Windu. Like, come on. But ultimately, as I was playing the story, I did like her story and I did like the things that unfolded with her character. And hopefully, if this game does get a sequel, we get to see more of her character and maybe get to play as her character in the sequel. Now, with that said though, this game is definitely not perfect. Despite really enjoying a lot of gameplay and really enjoying the story, like, I do feel like EA and Respawn could have taken a couple more months to develop the game, because even though it's not completely game breaking, the game isn't as fluid as I would hope it would be. For example, there are a lot of moments where, in a very Uncharted type of way, Cal is doing a lot of platforming, and there's moments where the environment is exploding around him and he's like trying to climb up a wall while things are falling apart, or he's sliding down a mudslide while things are blowing up around him. And again, it reminded me of Uncharted. However, it wasn't as the way Cal moves, even just when he's walking, doesn't seem as fluid as something like a Nathan Drake. And then there's also moments where things that weren't there will suddenly pop into frame, or moments where articles of characters' clothing, like a hat for example, will suddenly appear out of nowhere, or moments where objects or characters will suddenly drop out of the sky and you're like, what the hell? Or also moments where you're playing the game and it was on one particular board that this happened, and it happened kind of often, and I was starting to get a little annoyed. But while you're playing the game, suddenly the game would just stop. Like, for example, it's almost like when you're watching a show on like Netflix or something like that, and then all of a sudden in the middle of the movie, all of a sudden the movie just stops and it starts buffering. You're just like, what the, like, that level of frustration that you feel while that's happening is the same level of frustration I felt while that happened in the game. Because it's something you haven't had to really deal with in this modern day era of gaming. But yeah, overall, it wasn't something that was completely game breaking, and it didn't completely take away my level of enjoyment from the game. I really, overall, really enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed the worlds that you got to explore. I got to enjoy all the expanded lore that they delved upon in the Star Wars universe. And I would say Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was a major hit. So have you guys played Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order? What did you think about it? Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, if you can, hit that thumbs up button and like this video to really help out the channel. And if this is your first time watching one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. If you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. And tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time, and may the Force be with you.